will show the presence of the jury, the defendant, and all counsel. Mr. Martinez.
State calls Nathan Mendez to the witness stand.
Right up here, please, to be sworn. Right up here.
Can you spell your first and last name, please?
Nathan, N-A-T-H-A-N. Last name's M-E-N-D-E-S.
Raise your right hand. You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Walk right around here and have a seat, please. You may proceed.
Your name, sir?
Nathan Mendes.
And who do you work for?
I'm a special agent for the United States Department of the Interior.
And what is your area that you work, physically speaking or geographically speaking? What area do you work?
I work in Northern California in the city of Redding.
Back in June and July of 2008, who were you working for?
I was a detective for the Siskiyou County Sheriff's Office.
And as being a detective with Siskiyou, what were your duties back then?
I was the lead detective in the Major Crimes Unit and responsible for investigating homicides, robberies, kidnappings, major sex offenses.
And did you live in what town did you live in back then?
I lived in a town called Etna, which is just outside of Wairika.
And Wairika, is it a big town or a small town?
It's a small town.
How many people would you say back in June of 2008 there were there?
About 7,500.
And Siskiyou County, is that a small or large county?
Geographically, it's large. As far as population goes, it's very small.
And back then, do you have any idea about how many people there were? Or?
About 60,000.
And did you have occasion to patrol, I guess, or be around the whole of Siskiyou County on occasion as part of your duties and socially?
Yes, sir.
And with regard to, let's start with Wairika first. In Wairika, is there a business establishment, a bar, a restaurant by the name of Margaritaville?
No, sir.
So there is no restaurant by the name of Margaritaville there?
No, sir.
How about in the whole of the county of Siskiyou? Is there a restaurant by the name of Margaritaville?
No, sir.
In this case, did you become involved in the investigation involving somebody by the name of Jodi Arias?
Yes, sir.
And when were you contacted?
On July 11th of 2008.
And when you were contacted, what is it that you began to do as part of this contact that you received?
The detective sergeant from the Mesa Police Department said that he was bringing a team of detectives to the Wairika area for a follow-up investigation, and he requested that we try to establish a residence or location for their suspect. What
was the suspect's name?
Jodi Arias.
And did you subsequently come to know and meet and see who Jodi Arias is?
Yes, sir.
Is she in court today?
Yes, sir.
Tell me where she is seated and what she is wearing.
Seated next to defense counsel. She's wearing looks like a brown and green shirt.
Your Honor, may the record reflect the identification of the defendant?
Yes.
And with regard to that particular investigation, were you able to establish or find out where she was living?
Yes, sir.
Where was she living back there? And it was July of 2008, right?
Correct.
Where was she living?
She was living at 352 Pine Street in the city of Wairika.
Do you know who else was living in that house?
Yes, sir.
Who?
Her grandparents.
Anybody else other than her and her grandparents?
Not that I know, sir.
And as part of this investigation, was it also established where she was working at the time?
Yes, sir.
Where was she working?
At Casa Ramos.
And Casa Ramos, what town is that in?
There's several of them. There's at least 2 of them in the county, and one of them is located in Wairika.
And has Casa Ramos ever been known as Margaritaville?
No, sir.
And the marquee for Casa Ramos, does it have a marquee for the name of the restaurant?
Yes, sir.
Does it say anywhere in the marquee Casa de Ramos? I mean, does it say anywhere in the marquee, Margaritaville?
No, sir.
And have you ever eaten at Casa Ramos?
Yes, sir, I have.
With regard to this investigation, what date was the defendant arrested?
On the 15th.
Of July?
Yes, sir.
And as part of that investigation, did you have occasion to assist in the execution of a search warrant at her home?
Yes, sir.
Let me show you some photographs. While we're doing that, you were present. Who else was present during the execution of the warrant?
Detective Tom Denning from the Mesa Police Department and crime scene investigator Dave Young.
And there were photographs taken, correct?
Yes, sir.
As part of this investigation and subsequent to the execution of the search warrant, did you prepare a photographic lineup?
Yes, I did.
And with regard to that photographic lineup, did you use the known photograph of the defendant?
Yes, sir.
Where did you get that photograph?
Off of our law enforcement intranet, I retrieved the photo from booking.
Booking associated with this case, right?
Yes, sir.
And were you there when she was being booked and photographed on July 15th of 2008?
Yes, sir.
Let me show you an exhibit. Exhibit 245, we're going to go ahead and open it and see if you're familiar with the contents.
Yes, sir.
What is in Exhibit 2, or what is Exhibit 245?
It's a photographic lineup that I prepared and a photographic lineup admonition or instructions.
All right, but it appears that you have 3 sheets of paper. Why do you have 3 sheets of paper and not 2 as you mentioned?
One of them is the instructions that are given
Right.
to the person viewing the lineup. One is the actual lineup with 6 photographs.
Okay.
And the third sheet is a control page. It has the identifying information for the target.
And in this case, Jodi Arias was the target, correct?
Yes, sir.
What position did you place her photograph?
She's in position 5.
If I may have that back. I move for the admission of Exhibit 245.
Objection.
Exhibit 245 is admitted.
The first one that you have here is this document here, correct?
Yes, sir.
It has a number and some letters and a number next to them. What is this ENM 005? What is that?
That's a number that I assigned to it. It indicates that it's an item of evidence, and my initials NM and item number 5.
And it does have the name of a person who viewed this particular lineup, right?
Yes, sir.
And there's a date here on the left-hand side. Is that the date that the person viewed the lineup, or is that the date that the lineup was completed?
Well, that would be the date that they viewed the lineup. However, that date's incorrect.
And what is the correct date?
It was the 17th, not the 16th.
All right. Why don't you read to us this? Is this what is called an admonition? Is this what you read in anticipation of reading the photographic lineup to somebody?
Yes, sir, and that's just so we don't influence the person viewing this to pick anybody in here who might be the suspect.
Okay, and you read this to an individual by the name of Rafael Colombo, correct?
Yes, sir.
And why don't you read it for us so that we know what it says?
It's titled Photographic Lineup Instructions. You're about to be shown a group of photographs. Before you view these photographs, please read the following carefully. Number one, because a law enforcement officer is showing you a group of photographs, this should not influence your judgment in any way. Number two, the person who committed the crime may or may not be in the group of photographs. Number three, you are in no way obligated to identify anyone. Number four, study each photograph carefully before making any comments. Consider that the photographs could be old or new, that hairstyles change, and that persons can alter their identity by growing or shaving facial hair. And number five is special instructions, which there were none.
All right, if I may have that back. We were about to talk about the execution of the search warrant. I was going to show you some photographs of the defendant's home on Pine Street. Please take a look at exhibits 317 through 320 and see if you recognize these photographs.
Yes, sir. So these are scene photographs.
And these were photographs taken at the time of the execution of the search warrant on the defendant's home back on, what was it, July 15th of 2008?
That's correct.
Move for the admission of exhibits 317 through 320.
No objection, Your Honor.
Exhibits 317 through 320 are admitted.
Let's take a look at these photographs. This is for the glare. Let's start with exhibit 317. And what are we looking at here?
This is an overall photograph of the exterior or the front of the house at 352 Pine Street.
And exhibit 318, what are we looking at here?
This is a shot of the interior of the house, looking down the hallway from the front door to the back door.
So this shot is, if we look at 317, this shot is taken from this door looking towards the back, correct?
Correct.
And this door that we see here in the back, does it lead to another room inside the house, or does it lead to the outside?
It leads outside into the backyard.
Exhibit 319, where does this door lead to?
That is the front door, sir.
The defendant's room, where was it in this house? We know that if you go straight, you go to the back, right?
Correct.
Where is her room?
It's in the photograph. As soon as you come in the front door, you make an immediate left.
And then do you go left again, or you just keep going straight in there? Is that the room right here?
That's the room there. It goes back, kind of like you're making a U-turn towards the front
Kind
of
of
the
like
house.
this. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And then exhibit 320 shows us the area and some of the places searched, right?
Yes, sir.
Did police have occasion to search this box here?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to show you some documents. With regard to exhibits 237-001 through 237-022, this is bundled here. Take a look at those and see if you recognize those items.
Yes, sir. These are items taken during the service of the search warrant.
And did they come from this box here?
Yes, they did.
exhibits 237.001 through 237.002. I'm sorry, 022.
No objection, Your Honor.
Exhibits 237.001 through 237.022 are admitted.
Let's take a look at exhibit 237.001. First of all, what's the logo up on the left-hand corner?
It's a budget logo.
And it says it's budget rent-a-car system, correct?
Yes, sir.
Is there a budget rent-a-car in Wairika or not?
No, sir.
Back in June of 2008, were there car rental companies in Wairika?
Yes, sir. There are at least 2 others.
What were their names?
There is Hertz Rental Car and Enterprise.
And that was back in June of 2008.
Yes, sir.
But there was no budget, right?
No, sir.
Then we see that there's an address there, and it says Redding, California. Are you familiar with Redding, California?
Yes, sir.
In fact, do you live near Redding now or not?
Yes, I do.
And with regard to Redding as it relates to Wairika, how far apart are they?
Just under 90 miles.
And approximately, what's the driving time between Wairika and Redding, California?
In the summertime, it's about an hour-and-a-half drive.
And why did you qualify it by saying in the summertime? Is it in the winter, is it a little bit more, or what?
It's quite a bit more.
Why is that?
Just due to the weather, Siskiyou County, especially southern Siskiyou County, gets a lot of snow.
And we're talking about what was rented here. Do you see what was rented there? See what it says there? It was a car, right?
Correct, sir.
And it was rented. We have something up here, a bunch of numbers. And what are the last the last 4 digits?
2015.
The date that the car was rented, do you see that?
Yes, sir.
What date was that?
The 2nd of June, 2008,
At what time of the morning?
8:04 a.m.
And then, when was it returned?
It was returned on the 7th of June, 2008.
At 13:08 hours. Is that 1:08 p.m.?
Yes, sir.
But it was due in at what time?
It was due in on the 7th at 9:30 in the morning.
So it was a little late then, right?
Yes, sir.
How many total miles were driven on the car as indicated by this document?
2,834.
And this is the document that was found in that box that we talked about, correct?
Yes, sir.
It does talk here of the method of payment. You see that?
Yes, sir.
And it does say, what words does it say there?
Master,
And then it has 4 numbers. What are those?
2015.
With regard to the rental of this car, did you have occasion to then go to the budget rental-car that's in Redding, California at 6751 Woodrum Circle?
Yes, sir. That's actually located at the Redding Municipal Airport.
And was this the lineup that you took?
Yes, sir. I was there 2 days in a row. The lineup was shown on the 2nd day I was there.
All right. So it was shown on the 17th of July, correct?
Correct.
And this is the photograph of the target, I think is what you told us, right?
Yes, sir.
And this was taken at the time of the booking on July 15th?
Yes, sir.
And you were there when it was taken?
Yes, sir.
There are some chicken scratches underneath that. You see that?
Yes, I do.
The photographic lineup, before it was shown to anybody, did it have those chicken scratches on it?
No, sir.
Who put the chicken scratches on there, if you know?
That would have been Joe Colombo, or Rafael Colombo is his legal name.
With regard to that individual, did you read him the admonition that you previously read in court?
Yes, sir.
And when you showed him this photographic lineup, was he the individual that placed those initials there after the admonition was read?
Yes, sir.
Did he say anything with regard to the identification at the time that you showed him this photographic lineup and he made those marks?
Objection, called for hearsay.
Overruled. To answer yes or no.
Sorry, Your Honor.
Question.
I'll do it this way. What did he say with regard to that photographic lineup when he was making his identification?
Objection, called for hearsay.
Please approach.
What did he say when you showed him that in terms of the identification?
He said the person that came in and rented the vehicle was number 5, except that she had blonde hair when she came in and got the car, and she had a man with him.
With regard to what you just said, did he say that she had long hair or blonde hair? I
No,
didn't.
blonde hair.
Take a look at one of the, and the vehicle that you were talking about is the one that's mentioned in 237.001, correct?
Yes, sir.
This photographic lineup, you see this one here? This is the 3rd page of your packet. Do you see it?
Yes, sir.
There's some identifying information here. Do you see that at the bottom?
Yes, I do.
Was this ever shown to Mr. Colombo at any time?
No, sir.
And this is something, could this be called a control document?
Yes, sir.
And when I say control, what do you mean by control?
We use this so we can identify the people that are in the lineup. They're given a identifying number, which is over on the left-hand side of that page. And then the person that we're trying to identify, their name and information's on the lineup as well under primary candidate.
Okay, and was this ever shown to Mr. Colombo?
No, sir.
And the only one that's shown to him is this one that is blank.
Correct.
Exhibit 237001 indicates that the day the car was rented was what again?
The June 2nd, 2008,
At what time in the morning?
8:04 a.m.
In that box that we've talked about, and if we go back to Exhibit 320 in her room, this box here, were there other receipts?
Yes, sir.
Let's take a look at Exhibit 237002. Was that in that box?
Yes, sir.
And it is from where?
The Siskiyou Food Mart, which is a Shell gas station at the corner of Fort Jones Road and Moonlit Oaks.
And how big is Wairika? Is it a big town in terms of geography, or is it a smaller town?
It's fairly small.
And the date that this purchase was made,
June 2nd, 2008.
at what time?
Says 0539.
So is that 5:39 in the morning?
I don't know.
Well, if it's 0539 as opposed to 1739.
Objection, answer in the foundation, he's not familiar with the receipts.
Sustained.
Are you familiar with military time?
Yes, sir.
What is 1739 hours in terms of the regular clock, if you will?
That's 5:39 p.m.
Okay. And does this say 5:39 or does it say 17:39?
It says 5:39.
And it does list an account. It says MasterCard. You see that?
Yes, sir.
And it lists 4 digits. What are those 4 digits?
2015.
If we go back to exhibit number 237.001, What are the 4 digits there?
2015.
And what was purchased here, can you tell?
Yes, sir. Fuel.
All right. Let's take a look at Exhibit 237.003. And it's from where?
This is a McDonald's in Lodi, California.
Do you know where Lodi, California is in relationship to Wairika?
Yes, sir.
Where is it?
Lodi is located in between State Route 99 and Interstate 5. It's probably outside Sacramento.
Is Sacramento south of Wairika or north?
It's south of Wairika.
And so this would also be south of Wairika, Lodi, California, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the date of this receipt is what?
June 2nd, 2008.
And it does say MON, right?
Yes, sir.
And it has 1932 hours, right?
Correct.
What time would that be if we're using the regular clock?
It would be 7:32 p.m.
And see what was purchased.
A large French fry and 1 bottle of water.
Take a look at Exhibit 237.004, and this is to Valero, right?
Yes, sir.
What is the date on that one?
June 2nd, 2008,
And the time?
8:41 p.m.
And what kind of card was used?
MasterCard,
What are the last 4 digits?
2015.
And it also has a name here, right?
Yes, sir.
What's the name?
Jodi Arias.
And then if we go back to Exhibit 237.001, do the MasterCard numbers match?
Yes, sir.
Exhibit number 237.005 involves, what's on the left? Do you see that? It's WAMU. Do you see that?
Yes, sir.
Do you know what WAMU is?
Yes, sir. It's a Washington Mutual. It's a bank.
And we have here a deposit of how much?
$400.
And where? Do you see the name there?
Yes, sir. It's a Washington Mutual on Alvarado Street in Monterey, California.
In terms of Monterey, California, as opposed to Lodi, California, where are they in relation to each other, geographically speaking?
Well, Lodi is located basically in the Central Valley of California, right in the middle, and Monterey is south and on the coastal area of California.
And the date that we have here is what, sir?
The June 3rd, 2008,
And the time right there?
10:10.
Exhibit number 237.006, is it to the same bank
Yes, sir.
and the same location in Monterey?
Correct.
And is the time the same, 10:11?
No, sir. It's a minute off, 10:11.
And the date is June 3rd, right?
Correct, sir.
And then it has some writings on there, and it shows another deposit, right?
Yes, sir. $300.
Exhibit number 237.007, again involves Washington Mutual, correct?
Yes, sir.
And is this also another deposit?
Yes, sir. Of $100.
And June 3rd at what time?
10:15.
So in terms of the total amount of deposits, we have $100 there. Exhibit 237.006, deposit of $300, which would be total of $400, right?
Yes, sir.
And then Exhibit 237.005, another deposit of $400. And if it was all left in there, how much would that add up to be? $800?
Yes, sir.
Exhibit number 237.008 is to Walmart, right?
Yes, sir.
And what is the date on that one?
June 3rd, 2008,
And the time?
15:22 hours, which would be 3:22 p.m.
And these previous ones, if they are military time, 237.007 is, what time does it say there?
If it was military time, it'd be 10:15 a.m.
Exhibit number 237.009 is to who?
The CVS Pharmacy.
And where is this location now?
This is located at 3883 East Foothill Boulevard, Pasadena, California.
In relationship to the places that we've seen, the last one that we saw, Monterey, where is Pasadena in relationship to Monterey?
It's south of it.
And the time on this one is what time?
June 3rd, 2008 at 8:31 p.m.
Exhibit number 237.010 or 010. Can you see who the merchant is?
Yes, sir. Starbucks,
And what town does it say?
Pasadena, California.
And it says that a MasterCard was used, right?
Yes, sir.
What are the last four digits that are listed there?
2015.
And just to go back to 237.001, what are the last four digits there?
2015.
And the date,
June 3rd, 2008,
at what time?
2041, which would be 8:41 p.m.
Exhibit number 237.001, another receipt, this one's to who?
Arco,
What town?
Pasadena, California.
And we see that a debit was used and the last four numbers are
2015.
purchase of fuel, it appears, correct?
Yes, sir.
Let's look at the time on that one. It is
June 3rd, 2008 at 8:42 p.m.
exhibit number 237.012. It's also to an ARCO, right?
Yes, sir.
The address there is what?
3706 East Foothill Boulevard, Pasadena, California.
If we look at 237.011, do the addresses match?
Yes, sir.
In this one, we're talking about fuel. And then this one talks about an initial payment and some prepay, right?
Yes, sir.
What time?
This one is at 2046, which is 8:46 p.m.
And what is the date?
June 3rd, 2008.
It does talk about some fuel that is purchased, right? There also, correct?
Yes, sir.
Exhibit number 237.013. Does this appear to be a duplicate of what we've just seen? And I'll show you 237.012. it appears to be a duplicate, or it may be a duplicate of the sale, right?
Yes, sir. The fuel amount's different.
Exhibit 237.014. First of all, what's the date on this one?
June 6, 2008,
At what time?
10:38 a.m.
And what's the merchant?
It's an In-N-Out Burger in Sparks.
Do you know where Sparks is?
Yes, sir.
Where? What state?
Nevada, just outside of Reno.
And it indicates that a CHV was purchased, a W, and an FF, right?
Yes, sir.
And there was a MasterCard that was used, and then the price, correct?
Yes, sir.
Exhibit number 237.01 is also from the In-N-Out Burger, right?
Yes, sir.
It gives an address and says Sparks, Nevada. It says credit sale. And it indicates the name of the person who made the purchase, right?
Yes, sir.
Who is that?
Jodi Arias,
What's the last four digits of the account?
2015.
And then it gives the date and the time at the bottom, right?
Yes, sir.
What is the time on this one?
10:43 a.m.
Exhibit 237.016 is to, what's the merchant's name?
Tesoro.
You know, and if we look down there, it gives us the card that was used, what are the last four digits,
2015.
and the person.
Jodi Arias.
It appears that it talks about pump 2 in gallons, right?
Yes, sir.
And the date,
June 6, 2008.
at what time?
3:57.
And if this were military time, what time of the day would it be?
It's 3:57 a.m.
Exhibit 237.017, also a Tesoro purchase, right?
Yes, sir.
And we have a purchase of what appears to be fuel, right?
Yes, sir.
And it indicates that a MasterCard was swiped by, who is the account holder?
Jodi Arias,
And the last four digits,
2015.
and the date again.
June 6, 2008.
Exhibit number 237.018 is, who is the merchant?
The Flying J.
And it's from where?
It's a 1880 West Winnemucca Boulevard in Winnemucca, Nevada.
Do you know where this is or not?
Yes, sir.
Where is Winnemucca in relationship to Sparks, Nevada?
It's east. It's basically located in the middle of Nevada, up in the northern part of the state.
And we have the date there, correct?
Yes, sir.
We also have Exhibit 237.019. It talks about the same
Yes, sir.
merchant, right?
Correct.
And it's a little bit faded, right?
Yes, sir.
But on the right-hand side, can you make out the name or not?
Yes, sir. Jodi Arias.
Exhibit 237.020 is to, what's the merchant?
7-Eleven.
And also in Sparks, Nevada, right?
Yes, sir.
And the time that it was used was what time?
10:34.
And the date?
June 6, 2008.
237.021 is now to another Valero, right?
Yes, sir.
This one is in what town?
Redding, California.
What's the date on this one?
June 7, 2008.
And the time?
12:20.
And the person that's listed there?
Jodi Arias.
What kind of credit card was involved?
MasterCard?
And it appears to be a purchase of gas, right?
Yes, sir.
And finally, Exhibit 237.022. It's just a receipt, but we really can't tell much from it, right?
Correct, sir.
I don't have any other questions.
Cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
I just wanted to ask you, counsel for the state went through, excuse me, a lot of receipts with you and matched up the number of the credit card, that sort of thing, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Based on your experience, some of what you testified here today, if someone paid with cash, there wouldn't be a credit card number on there, would there?
Correct.
Okay. I want to draw your attention back for a moment. You recall that Mr. Martinez showed you some receipts from Washington Mutual in Monterey. Remember looking at those?
Yes, sir.
And just to remind everyone, these are what you obtained from Ms. Arias's room back in Wairika, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you see that receipt, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Could you do us a favor and read the last 4 digits of the account that was being deposited into?
Yes, sir. It's 7148.
And do you see the account number there again?
Yes, sir.
And is that the same account number?
It is.
Okay. And again, it appears the account number is different. Could you read that account number for us?
Yes, sir. It's 8006.
So it appears that it's a different account, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So let me ask you this. I know your former employer had a limited involvement in this case. That's a good way to put it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And have you seen any of the other documents related to where the money came from to make these deposits?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
No, thank you.
Any questions from the jury for this witness? I see no hands. You may step down. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
State may call its next witness.
State calls Lisa Perry.
Can you spell your first and last name, please?
Lisa Perry, L-I-S-A, Perry, P-E-R-R-Y.
Raise your right hand. You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Walk around and have a seat.
May I have your name, please?
My name is Lisa Perry.
And who do you work for?
I work for the City of Mesa Police Department Crime Laboratory.
What do you do there at the Mesa Police Crime Lab?
I am a forensic scientist.
That could mean a lot of things. What do you do there, though?
I work in the biology unit, which means that I examine evidence of a crime for the presence of biological materials. I am the first step in the process, the DNA process. So I look at a piece of evidence, look for substances such as blood, semen, saliva, maybe even skin cells, and I collect a sample and forward it on for DNA analysis.
Is that the only thing that you do?
On occasion, I do respond to crime scenes.
And in this particular case, did you respond to the crime scene involving the killing of Travis Alexander?
Yes, I did.
With regard to that scene, when did you get out there?
On June 10th of 2008,
And how long were you at that scene in June?
over the course of 2 days.
And during the time that you were out there, what is it that you were focused on, or what is it that you were doing, if you will?
We were looking at blood, I was looking at blood stains to see if I could make a determination on how they were deposited at the scene.
Is there a degree, well, do you have a degree?
I do have a degree. It's in marine biology from Western Washington University, and I have a minor in chemistry.
Is there such a degree in the interpretation of blood stain patterns or blood pattern, or is that something that you acquire through training and reading?
It is something you would acquire through training and experimentation and reading.
In this particular case, you went there, and what is it that you saw? Where did you start?
We entered through the front door and toured the residence. However, my focus was in the master bathroom.
And why were you looking at the master bathroom? What is it that you were doing, or why were you interested in looking at that?
I was interested in looking at the blood stains, and that's where the blood was.
You also mentioned that you do some screen. Do you know what a screener is?
Yes.
What is a screener?
Screener is kind of what I described my job to be, the person who looks at an item of evidence and then prepares a sample for DNA from that item.
When you say that you prepare them for DNA analysis, how is it that you'll go about doing it? I mean, there could be many substances, many areas. What is it that you do exactly?
Depending on what I'm looking for, I may do some testing. Otherwise, I might just swab a substance or take a cutting of it and forward it on in a little tiny tube that goes on for DNA.
Let me see if I can get a little bit more specific. For example, if you see a substance that is reddish in color and you want to know what it may potentially be, is there any kind of test that you can conduct that will tell you that maybe this may or may not be blood? Is there anything that you can do for that?
There is a test. There's a little color test that I do that will give me indications of whether the presence of blood is indicated.
And are you familiar with the term Castlemeyer?
Yes, that is the name of my color test.
And is it also known as a presumptive test?
It is.
In this case, at the scene, did you do any swabbing to obtain any biological substance from the scene, or was everything done back at the lab?
There was swabbings that I did not perform by other people who were at the scene. A lot of my analysis and swabbings would have occurred back in the laboratory.
I'm just asking about you. Were there any swabbings that you did out at the scene?
I did a few of the preliminary color testings at the scene, but I did not collect any evidence.
And what areas did you do with that Castlemeyer test or that presumptive test? What areas?
There was an area on a washing machine, on a sink in a downstairs restroom, on a cabinet in the downstairs restroom, on the back of the master bedroom door, the top banister of the stairs, the base of the stairs on some tile. I'd have to reference my report to see if I'm missing anything.
We'll let you do that, but with regard to the washing machine, do you know what the results were from the presumptive test?
There was one stain on the top that was positive.
And with regard to that, would you have put like an initial, or what would you have done to designate that particular spot?
The person who collected that sample would have designated that with initials.
So take a look at exhibits 8, 9, And 10. We're looking at the stain there, right?
Correct.
And then if we take a look at it's the washing machine, there are a couple of numbers there. Did you put those numbers there or not?
No,
Somebody else would have done it,
yes,
but you would have done the swabbing with that, right?
correct. The testing, yes.
And number 10, what does the little B mean there?
That it differentiates it from the 1A that was on the other surface of the washing machine.
And what were the results again with regard to the swabbing of the washing machine?
This one, to confirm, I believe that this one was positive and the other was negative.
And then you said that you went, where did you look from there?
Throughout the rest of the residence as well, focusing on the master bathroom.
But downstairs in the bedroom, did you also conduct a testing for blood there and using the presumptive test, i.e. the Castlemeyer?
You said the downstairs in the bedroom or the bathroom?
Downstairs bathroom.
Downstairs bathroom, I did a test on a stain in the sink that was positive, and there was a negative on a cabinet.
Okay, if we take a look at exhibits numbers 44, 45, and 46. 44 is what? What are we looking at there?
That would be the cabinet in the downstairs bathroom.
Was that positive or negative?
That was negative.
Exhibit number 45, and then, let's see, focus in, exhibit number 46. Is that what you tested?
Yes, and that was positive.
Then you said you went throughout the house and you looked at a number of areas, right? But focusing mainly in the master bathroom, right?
Correct, that's correct.
In the master bathroom, just to the naked eye, not to denigrate your profession, but just looking at it, all that red stuff there, just to the naked eye, appears to be blood. Did you do a lot of this Castlemeyer testing up there or not?
We did not. Due to our training, education, and experience, I am able to recognize the presence of blood in that volume, and I recognize that to be blood.
So with regard to the study of blood patterns, what kind of training have you had?
I have received a 40-hour course in basic bloodstain pattern analysis from the Miami-Dade Metropolitan Police Department. I received a follow-up 40-hour course in advanced bloodstain pattern analysis by the Miami-Dade Metropolitan Police Department as well. I received an 80-hour course in laboratory-based bloodstain pattern analysis, as it relates to fabric specifically. And I have attended over 200 hours of educational conferences and trainings associated with bloodstain pattern analysis.
Before we get too much into that, I'm going to show you exhibit number 138. Do you recognize the area there?
Yes, I do.
And exhibit 139, what are we looking at there?
That is a photo of the west wall of the master hall bathroom, master bathroom hallway.
Was there a latent fingerprint that was there that was people looked at, or do you know anything about that?
I know that there was a print involved in that area. I don't know exactly what it was a print of.
Did you do anything with regard to that area there in this particular item back at the scene?
At the scene, I did not.
And how about at the lab? Did you do anything?
At the laboratory, I did my Castlemeyer testing and did a swabbing in that area where I was instructed where I should swab by the latent print examiner.
Right, but did you do some swabbing of this back at the lab?
Just at the lab, yes.
And what were the results of this preliminary test that you did?
Those results were negative.
Okay. Had there been any testing that you know of to this area prior to your testing for blood?
I'm unaware of any testing, only processing.
In terms of the screening, you said, well, it's negative for blood. Just because it's negative for blood, does that mean that there are no other biological materials there subject to DNA testing? In other words, is blood the only biological substance that can be tested for DNA?
No, it's not.
What other substances can be tested for DNA?
You can receive a DNA profile from skin cells from somebody touching something. Sometimes your sweat will have your DNA as it sloughs off. You can have,
What is that called? What are those, is that nucleated, or what is that called? If the cells falls off, what are those? They're just cells, or what?
they're epithelial cells that have come off, and usually through sweat, wear, or I'm not coming up with the right terms. Often I will find them on a screwdriver because somebody has used friction, so that forces and rubs off your skin cells.
How about spit, saliva? Does that have DNA
Yes,
in it?
yes, saliva would have DNA in it.
How about, I don't know, sperm, that sort of thing?
Absolutely, yes.
So it isn't just restricted to blood then, right?
That's correct.
So if you swab this particular area and there was no blood, that doesn't mean there wasn't any biological substance there,
That's correct.
So to get back to you told me a little bit about your training. In terms of blood, the way it's deposited there, is that something that you can, by looking at them, you can tell how they were deposited there?
We can offer opinions as to how the mechanisms that may have caused those stains, yes.
Okay, but I'm asking you, when you look at it, are you able to do it? It's the royal we here, and I want to make sure that we're talking about you. You can look at something and at least tell us what type of pattern we're talking about.
The type of pattern and what may have caused that mechanism.
Are there some patterns that are passive as opposed to active?
There are.
Okay, why don't we talk a little bit about the passive type of patterns that you may find at a crime scene? What are those?
The passive category of bloodstain patterns are ones that when blood droplets are only acted upon by the source of gravity, they form by gravity alone, so they're just dropping by that force alone.
So for example, if the source, whatever the source may be, is standing over something, not making any movement, and the blood comes down, it forms a certain type of pattern.
Yes, a passive drop.
How about if active forms of blood patterns? What are those?
Those would be under a category we call projected blood, when there's an ejection of a volume of blood due to a force or to pressure that causes that to strike the surface.
Give me some examples of what we're talking about.
That could be when there is an impact or a strike or a blow to a blood source. It could be when there is a weapon and it's moving back and forth and blood may be flying off of it. It can be from when one coughs and has blood in their airwaves. That can cause that a projection of blood stains as well.
In terms of the pattern that may be created by this blood being projected, is there a special name for that or not? Is it high velocity, medium velocity? Do you know what that's about?
We can assess the sizes of the stains, and that helps us define the force that might have acted upon that blood, and then we categorize that by the sizes as high velocity, low velocity, medium velocity.
And are you familiar with the term spatter?
Yes, I am.
Not splatter, it's spatter actually.
Spatter.
And what does splatter refer to?
What is spatter?
What does it refer to?
Spatter is the actual stains that we look at after there has been an action to a liquid blood source, and the blood droplets fly and are dispersed through the air. When they finally land upon a surface, that is called the spatter.
In terms of, let's say there's blood on a substance and something comes by and touches it. Is there a name for that? And what would that name be?
That's called a transfer stain. When a blood-bearing source comes in contact with another source, that's called a transfer.
What if the blood is already there and the source doesn't have any blood on them and they come by? Is it still called a transfer?
They're still within the transfer category. Specifically, if the blood is already on an object and something wipes through it, that's called a wipe. If the blood is on, say, me, and I'm moving it along here, I am swiping it along.
What if, for example, the blood is adulterated, and by that I mean another substance is applied to it? For example, let's say water is applied to blood. Does that have a tendency to affect or not affect the patterns in what you see?
Well, if water is present, it may actually diminish and wash away any of the patterns that we might expect to see, that we might see in a bloody crime scene. It also can affect the appearance of stains by making their edges look very dilute, not as dark red. They might be very dilute red in appearance.
show you some photographs. Sort of just to orient ourselves. Exhibit number 83. And you see this right here down at the...
Yes, I do.
What is that?
That is the body of the deceased.
And this right here, did that have the appearance of blood to you?
Yes, it did.
Now, we've been talking about all these patterns and cast off and speeds and that sort of thing, active versus passive. First thing we sort of see is this right here. If that were blood, what would that tell us?
That there's a large enough volume that it is flowing down, that gravity is acting upon it.
And do we know how that got there? Because we've talked about something hitting something and then flying on there. Is there anything that we know about this one other than that gravity acted upon it?
No.
Exhibit number 84, and I want to direct you to this area here. Do you see that there?
Yes, I do.
And closer view, Exhibit 86, the area there. Exhibit 87, that's a close-up of that area. And then Exhibit 88, which is the toilet. Do you know where this toilet was?
Yes.
And Exhibit 89. Are we still looking at the toilet?
Yes.
I want to talk about this particular spot, and then you see in the back appears to be blood. Why don't you tell me what type of pattern we are looking at there?
The stains that I see on the toilet and the bottom of this door jamb are from an impact to a blood source.
Is this an active sort of
It would be an
pattern?
active source, yes.
And so it's the blood being what? How does the blood get there?
There is an impact to the blood source of some sort that then causes the blood droplets to fly through the air and be deposited upon that surface.
Impact, right?
An impact, correct.
Can you, by looking at those, can you tell us the distance of the source to that location?
I can't define specifically, but I can tell you because they are small blood droplets at the bottom, those don't travel very far due to the effect of wind resistance upon them, air resistance. So they're not wind resistance, air resistance. So they're not going to travel very far. So the blood source was in proximity too.
And any idea how far, or is it in proximity?
In proximity, close proximity.
Where was can you tell us anything about the blood source, its positioning as in terms of high up, middle, ceiling, floor? What can you tell us about that?
Those stains are all from about 12 inches and down, and the stains that I was looking at are all round, which means that the blood source was actually low, and those blood stains simply flew to the side and impacted the wall at a 90-degree angle, and they made it essentially circular drops.
So what I understand you say, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, the source was low, source was not too far away because of the smaller droplets there, and there was impact to the blood source.
That's correct.
Well, let's look at the toilet that's back there.
Yes.
With regard to that, if we take a look at exhibit number 90, here's the toilet, and number 90. What do we see here?
We see the same type of stains, fairly round, on a rounded surface like the side of the toilet. They can round, even though they might hit at a 90-degree angle, those can sometimes look a little bit more elliptical just because of the surface of the curved toilet. But those are essentially the small same stains that I was talking about at the other, on the door jamb, and at the same height, they are below 12 inches.
Looking at these and the ones on the toilet, exhibit 87, spatially speaking, they're in different areas, correct?
Correct.
Does that tell you anything about the number of strikes to the blood source, or does it not?
These, because the way that these are lined up and you can see in the photograph, I can't rule that out as having been from the same event. It
So-
could be from more than one event, but it's at least, I can't rule out that it was simply one.
When you say event, are we talking about strikes?
One strike to that blood source.
But it could be more.
It could be more.
Let's take a look at exhibit number 84. Do you see this floor mat here? Or, I'll show you another one,
Not in that lighting. I didn't-
exhibit number 86. Do you see the floor mat
Yes,
there?
I do.
With regard to that floor mat, did you conduct any tests?
I didn't do any tests on that at the scene.
The way you said that implies to me that you did some tests somewhere else.
I did examine that mat back in the laboratory.
And exactly what did you do to examine that floor mat?
I did my Kastle-Meyer preliminary test for the presence of blood, and I noted the presence of blood all over the bottom of that mat, in addition to the stain that's on top.
With regard to that mat, you were looking at that mat. Is it a situation where the blood was on top and then went to the bottom, or do you have a different opinion as to how the blood on the bottom got there?
No, the blood is throughout the bottom, and it's not consistent with the top drop having traveled through. It's more consistent with that mat having been moved either over blood stains that were already there, or there had been water in the scene, and that water mixed with the blood could have traveled under and deposited
So-
throughout the mat.
I hear you saying that there's two ways that the blood could have been deposited underneath the mat then.
Correct.
And one of them is moving, right?
Moving, yes.
Well, just because it's moving, that doesn't make blood magically appear, does it?
No.
What is it that it's coming in contact with that would allow it to then get under there?
Blood stains that would already be present.
So in other words, there were already, one of the scenarios is that there was blood somewhere else and this mat was run over them, right?
Correct.
And the other one was what?
That with the water involvement that I can see, you can see it in this picture, the way that it's affected that other stain. That
one right
water and blood had traveled
Ma'am,
together.
is this stain
Yes.
and then is this the
Yes,
water
the edges
involvement?
that are red and dilute looking.
Well, just so that we can focus in on that. What do you see there that tells you that there's water been there? How do you know that? It just looks like a dark stain with some reddish stains.
Because that has been, water would cause that effect to start to loosen up the blood and start it to diffuse, to be dilute in appearance. So it's starting to dilute that large
And-
stain.
And so what you're saying is there's a proximity between the mat and that, which implies that maybe water was one way it got there, or the other one is that it was moved, right?
Correct.
Did you take a look at the consistency? And by that I mean whether or not the blood could have traveled from the top to the bottom. Did you take a look at that? Is it that type of mat that the blood could have gone?
The top is all bamboo strips, and that's what the blood on top of the mat was laying on top of. The bottom has a felt type middle and then a fabric edge, and it's not the kind that the blood would not have traveled from that one drop through the bottom.
Well, we're talking about this scenario. One of the things that we talked about previously, when you were explaining this to me, you indicated that, well, if there is a blood source somewhere and another item comes by that doesn't have any blood on it, if it rubs up against it, the blood can be transferred, right?
Correct.
So the first, I guess, explanation would be that this would be a blood transfer. Would that be correct?
Correct.
And then the other one would be water, right?
Correct.
Taking a look at this item there, along with the one that's here around the corner, we then take a look at exhibit number 91. Do you see both of those?
Yes, I do.
let's talk about this one right here. What are we looking at there?
That is a large accumulation of blood.
And how was that blood left there? How did the source leave the blood there?
One of two ways. One of the likelier options is that a blood source was in one position, allowing it to drip down and collect in that area.
And so that's the gravity aspect.
That would be,
of it.
yes, that the blood source just dripped passively the blood. The other being, I can't account for all of the situations with water, how water would, and this tile would pull it together, but I can't totally dismiss that some of the water activity deposited it there, though it seems more likely due to the size of it that it was deposited from a blood source.
If it was deposited there from the blood source, and you did say it was a large amount of blood there, is that a function of time also, that to get a larger blood spot like this takes more time than to just get a spot, for example, if this were one strike, than to get this pattern? Could it be a function of time?
It could be a function of time.
And I suspect that the answer is you can't give me a time.
I can't give you the time.
Exhibit 91. What do we have here?
We have more blood stains on, this is the eastern wall of the exterior of the toilet room.
And let's talk about these right here.
Those that, on this wall, I observed blood stains that were traveling in a downward and towards the south, which is the window, which is up at the top over here.
And in terms of how they were deposited there, do you have an opinion as how those were?
An impact to a blood source.
So something that was bleeding or had blood on it
In
struck.
close proximity to the wall.
Because of this wall here, can you now say it was, or not say, that it was more than one strike? In other words, it would be one strike here to the breach of the door here, and then another strike here. Is that what you can say? Or can you say it's the same strike and the blood went through the wall?
I would not say the blood went through the wall.
So how many strikes are you looking at there?
Then we're looking at two different strikes or events.
At least, right?
Correct.
It could be more, right?
Correct.
And because they are so diffuse, does that give you an indication as to how many there were or not?
How many strikes there were?
Right.
No.
So it still could be one strike, right?
Correct.
Do you see this down here? Is that also blood right down here?
I'd
Or
have
not?
to see another shot of it. I'm not
Okay,
certain in that
we'll get
shot.
another one for you to look at.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be back in the designated area at 1:25. Please remember the admonition. Have a nice lunch. You are excused.